This is the Bwine F7GIM Pro Drone. I picked it up because the spec sheet promises a lot for the price. A 3-axis gimbal, 4K 30 video, long-range digital transmission, and up to 70 minutes in the air with 2 batteries. My gut reaction after unboxing and flying a handful of sessions is a mix of excitement and frustration. The airframe flies better than I expected. The gimbal keeps footage steadier than most budget models I've tried, but the software and power system kept throwing curveballs that made some flights more stressful than they needed to be. On the desk, the design stands out in a good way. The top shell has a 3D laser-etched texture that looks unique, and the orange tips on the props make it easy to spot orientation when it's out a ways. Folded up, it's compact enough to throw in a small bag, and the included hard case is legitimately tough and tidy inside. The build is a blend of plastic and some carbon fiber bits. It feels lighter and smaller than it actually is, which can be a little misleading. It weighs 357 grams, so in the US that means you need to register it and follow the rules. In the hand, the arms lock firmly and the gimbal is properly protected with a clip. The remote feels familiar if you've used mid-budget drones. Rubberized grips, a springy phone clamp up top, a bright enough status strip for basic info, and a small LCD that becomes hard to see under strong sun. The control layout is sensible. A gimbal wheel, a speed toggle, a dedicated return-to-home button, and separate photo-video triggers. The drone uses a wired digital link from the remote to your phone, not Wi-Fi, and the short USB-C cable is hidden in the phone holder, which is easy to miss on day one. From my experience, setup is where the hits and misses start. The drone and remote bind quickly, but you're gated by the Bwine Mini app for calibrations and unlocking the motors. That means you need the app working to do compass and gyro calibrations and to confirm a GPS lock before takeoff. I ran into a few app crashes when opening the camera view. On a newer Android device, I even had to reinstall once to get a clean start. The most annoying bug I hit twice was the app throwing a GPS signal weak error, even when the status bar showed full bars and the drone was clearly seeing satellites. When that happens, you can't arm, so you're stuck waiting or rebooting everything. On better days, it grabs GPS in a couple of minutes in an open field and you're good. Once airborne, it's a very different story in a good way. Manual flight performance is the star here. It hovers steadily, the sticks feel smooth, and the 2 speed modes, stable and sport, are handy. Stable is great for slow, cinematic moves. Sport adds punch for covering ground. Wind handling is better than I expected at this size. The level 5 rating isn't just marketing fluff. I flew in gusts around 20 to 22 miles per hour and still came back with usable footage. There's no obstacle avoidance, so you're relying on line of sight and good habits. It does have downward sensors like TOF and a radar module that help it hold altitude close to the ground, especially when GPS is spotty, but that's not the same as sensing and dodging an object ahead. RTH worked consistently for me. I tested manual RTH and the low battery trigger, and it came back within a few feet of the home point. On the camera side, the 3-axis gimbal is doing real work. When I keep moves slow, the footage is surprisingly smooth for this price bracket. The video tops out at 4K 30, and in bright, even light, it looks clean, if a bit processed. The 6K photo mode is fine for social sharing, but it's not a detail monster. The lens is a fixed focus f2 setup with a narrower field of view than most drones in this class, closer to a 60mm equivalent, which gives a tighter, more zoomed look than a typical wide shot. The camera is fully automatic, no manual ISO, shutter, or white balance, and that's a limitation for anyone who likes to dial exposure for motion blur or mixed lighting. In my opinion, the auto white balance sometimes leans warm, especially when I aim toward the sun, which can push skin tones or buildings toward orange. The live feed to the phone is 720p. Close up, it's crisp enough to frame a shot, but at longer distances, I did see occasional lag and a few freezes. Not a deal breaker, but it does erode confidence if you're threading a shot near trees. Battery life is where the marketing and reality don't line up. The package includes 2 3200 mAh batteries. The claim is up to 35 minutes per battery. My logs show about 18 to 23 minutes in mild conditions with conservative flying, less when wind picks up or I push the speed, sometimes 12 to 15 minutes. That's normal for a lot of budget drones, but it's a big gap from the spec. More concerning, one of my packs started to swell after a handful of cycles. I retired it immediately. Swelling is a safety red flag with LiPo-style packs, and once that happens, inserting and removing the battery becomes dicey. PD fast charging brought a depleted pack back in around 2.5 hours for me. With a weak charger, it took much longer. Remote battery life has been fine. I've only had to top it off every few sessions. The smart features are hit and miss. Follow Me tracks the remote's GPS, not a visual subject, which makes it awkward if I'm trying to film myself riding or running without holding the controller. Orbit worked one day and drifted the next, and the camera framing wasn't consistent enough to trust for a one-take move. Waypoints did fly the route, but the speed felt too fast for good footage, and I couldn't get the pace dialed in to my liking. Cruise control was the one helper I actually used. It holds a steady forward motion, so I can fine-tune the gimbal tilt for a glide shot. The app claims night mode improvements, but this is still a small sensor. I got the best results at golden hour and bright daytime. Micro SD cards under 128 gigabytes worked fine for me once I formatted them in FAT. If you're on a Mac, that extra step matters. Key features that shaped my time with it are the 3-axis brushless gimbal, 4K 30 video, 6K photo capture, level 5 wind resistance, GPS with RTH, the wired digital transmission that cuts down on Wi-Fi pairing headaches, and those stabilizing sensors that help it hold a steady hover low to the ground. The built-in remote ID module is convenient because it keeps the setup compliant without extra add-ons. The carrying case is better than most bundled cases in this bracket. It actually protects the kit and fits the extras cleanly. What I like, and why I kept flying it despite the hassle, is the feel in the air. From my experience, the sticks map nicely to the motors with no mush. The gimbal tames jitters well when I fly smoothly, and the airframe doesn't get tossed around in common wind. The foldable design and tough case make it grab-and-go friendly. The wired link to the phone is less finicky than Wi-Fi when the app behaves. RTH feels reliable. It's perfect for someone who wants to practice manual flying, learn to feather the gimbal, and build confidence without spending top-tier money. In my opinion, that's the strongest argument for this drone. What pulled me back is the software and power story. The app stability issues, the occasional GPS lock error that blocks takeoff, the inconsistent smart modes, and the battery swelling I saw are not small complaints. For actual filming, the lack of manual camera controls means I can't set shutter for motion blur or lock white balance to avoid color shifts, so I had to plan shots around the camera rather than the other way around. The live feed's occasional lag meant I favored open spaces and kept extra buffer from obstacles. Because there's no obstacle avoidance, that buffer is a must anyway. I'd recommend this for a patient beginner or a hobbyist who cares most about the basics of flight, who doesn't mind troubleshooting an app, and who understands that the camera is fully automatic. If you're hoping to use Follow Me for action clips, or you need dependable waypoint missions, this will test your patience. If you're a creator who wants manual exposure, consistent color, and robust autonomy, you'll outgrow this fast. For anyone in the US, remember it's 357 grams, so register it and fly within the rules. In conclusion, the Bwine F7GIM Pro flies like it means it and stabilizes better than I expected, but the surrounding ecosystem keeps it from being effortless. The hardware has genuine potential. The app and batteries need more polish. Key features on paper look great, and some of them deliver. The gimbal, the wind resistance, the compact fold, the RTH. Others fall short in daily use, especially the advertised flight time and smart modes. If you know what you're getting and you value stick time and smooth manual moves above all, it can be a fun, capable flyer. If you need reliability and creative control for serious filming, I'd look higher up the range. If you found this video helpful, hit subscribe and drop your questions or your own experience in the comments. Thank you for watching.